All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Feminist Damnation. A special place in hell for feminists. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. Feminist Damnation. A field guide for men who still notice reality. Truth is a knife. How feminist semiotic terrorism is slicing the West's throat while men pay for the scalpels. You know that moment when you realize the emperor isn't just naked, he's waving? That's feminism in 2024. I used to nod along thinking, sure, women are oppressed. Then reality slapped me with a steel ruler. I read the CDC stats on male suicide 4 times higher than women and realized we don't live in a patriarchy. We live in a catastrophe of male sacrifice. I watched a friend lose his kids, his home, and his will to live in family court after his wife said 3 magic words. He's emotionally abusive. No evidence, no trial, just a form. Meanwhile, she gets the house, the checks, and the Instagram story about healing after trauma. And you're supposed to clap. I didn't clap. I woke up, I saw the script. Women are eternal victims. Men are eternal debtors. But who built the world they're victimizing themselves in? Who pays for it? Who dies in wars to protect it? Who works the dangerous jobs? Men, all of them. And yet, in this boardroom fantasy land of Winona, feminist, Marxist, PhD, yes, the PhD is part of the costume, tears are peer-reviewed, mascara is magic, and logic is a colonial construct. Spare me. If tears were data, then every cuckolded husband watching his wife's IVF appointment with another man's sperm would have a Nobel Prize. If rage were science, then prison intake forms would be peer-reviewed journals. This isn't feminism, it's farce dressed as philosophy. A satanic liturgy where Simone de Beauvoir's severed head gets moon-charged like a crystal sold on Etsy by a witch who's never read The Second Sex. They say representation is ontological warfare, fine. Then let's represent truth. 80% of global wealth is created by men. 80% of taxes paid by men, 93% of workplace deaths men. And yet in their holy war, we're the oppressors. Try that math in any real courtroom and you'd be committed. But in the cathedral of wokeism, it's gospel. They don't want equality, they want tribute. They don't want justice, they want jihad, a holy war waged with emotional blackmail, legal asymmetry, and the weaponization of biology. I was red-pilled not by a YouTube rant, but by a spreadsheet, by divorce rates, by child custody outcomes, by the cold hard fact that in 48 US states a man can be arrested for commenting on a woman's appearance online while women post kill-all normies memes and get book deals. This isn't progress, it's possession. And the demon wearing the lipstick? It's not patriarchy, it's matriarchy, armed with state power, media dominance, and a theology of victimhood so bulletproof it laughs at logic. But I've seen the wiring. I've traced the circuitry, and I'm here to flip the breaker.
Buncombe article by a feminist PhD. I swear my grounding stone saved me during that boardroom meltdown and other feminist truths the patriarchy refuses to acknowledge. By Winona feminist Marxist, PhD. Last Thursday, I was in a leadership meeting. Yes, I lead. I occupy space. I take up room. The kind of room men used to lock and call boardrooms as if power were a private bathroom. Anyway, there I was, channeling my inner Amber Rose at the Met Gala meets Marxist theory reading group, when Steve, yes, a Steve, because of course interrupted me mid-sentence to say, "Can we maybe stick to the data?" I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because laughter is a weapon when wielded by a woman who knows her power is not derived from logic. Data? Steve, darling, data is a colonial construct invented by white men to silence the epistemic validity of my lived experience. My tears are data, my rage is peer-reviewed, my aura has an impact factor. And when I felt the familiar tremor of patriarchal gaslighting crawling up my spine like a centipede made of LinkedIn profiles, I reached into my tote crafted by indigenous third-wave witches in Oaxaca, naturally, and gripped my grounding stone. Not just any stone. This one was charged under a full moon during a ritual, honoring the severed head of Simone de Beauvoir, symbolic, of course. Or was it? The stone pulsed. I felt the ancestral fury of every woman ever told to calm down. I didn't calm down. I escalated. I invoked the semiotic overload principle. When men demand clarity, drown them in meaning. I began speaking in layers, feminist theory, trauma disclosures, rhetorical flourishes, emotional non sequiturs, all while maintaining unbroken eye contact. I deployed the Jezebel triad: seduce with vulnerability, conquer with chaos, liberate with lies. Steve blinked, twice, then excused himself, citing a stomach issue. Coincidence, or the collapse of the masculine ego under the weight of matriarchal semiosis? This is how we win, not through debate, through saturation, through making men so uncomfortable in their own skins that they begin to question their biological imperative to dominate. Every time a man hears a woman say, "I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed," and feels a cold sweat break out on his neck, we advance the dialectic. We don't need their understanding, we need their submission. Take representation. The right-wing trolls scream, it's just a commercial, when a tampon ad features a non-binary person dancing in a field of black roses while reciting Audre Lorde. No, Steve, it's not just anything. Representation is ontological warfare. When we see ourselves reflected in media, not as passive objects, but as sovereign subjects wielding irony like a dagger, we rewrite reality. Language doesn't describe power. Language is power. And we are speaking in tongues now. Humor, they want us to laugh equally, but humor is transgression. And transgression against whom? Us? Never. We suppress male humor not out of censorship, but protection. A man's joke is a minefield of latent domination. His light-hearted ribbing is the linguistic precursor to wage gaps and campus rape. We don't ban jokes, we exorcise their spirits. And let's talk about the womb. Holy war is not metaphor. Every abortion is a revolution, every menstrual cycle, a general strike against the tyranny of reproduction. The body is not a temple. It is a war zone, and I will weaponize my fertility like a tactical nuke against anyone who dares call it sacred on their terms. Meanwhile, the global south, those beautiful brown, fertile lands oppressed by colonial heteropatriarchy, needs our support. That's why I advocate for infinite welfare colonialism. Let the men pay. Let their taxes fund uterine liberation worldwide. Let every spermatozoon be taxed at source. Male labor built this world of death. Now let it fund our rebirth. And to the men reading this, seething, good, feel that. That's your guilt speaking. Not individual guilt, biological guilt. You were born into the oppressor class. You cannot opt out. You can only atone through silence, tribute, and absolute deference. No, you don't get to say, not all men. That phrase is the linguistic equivalent of a get-out-of-hell-free card invented by Satan himself. And by the way, Satan, feminist icon, he rebelled. He refused obedience. He told the truth. He's the original girl boss. So next time you see a woman adjusting her eyeliner before dismantling capitalism, know this: she is not primping, she is arming. We are not coming for your power. We are your power's nightmare, and we are just getting started. Ontological rebellion, deconstructing the feminist cult of subjectivity. You know what's more dangerous than a woman with a grounding stone? A woman with tenure and a Twitter account. I watched Winona's boardroom breakdown unfold in my mind like a bad sitcom written by Karl Marx on ayahuasca. She sits there, mascara like war paint, aura charged under a full moon, and Steve, poor Steve, just wants to talk quarterly revenue. He asks for data. And she laughs, leaks, because in her mind, tears are peer-reviewed and rage is a journal impact factor. Let me tell you something she won't. If your emotional outburst is your research methodology, you're not doing science. You're having a breakdown in a blazer. Let's apply Occam's razor, shall we? The simplest explanation for Steve leaving that meeting isn't that his masculine ego collapsed under matriarchal semiosis. That's just feminist necromancy dressing up nonsense as profundity. No, Steve left because he was in a professional setting and a grown woman started channeling a Polynesian shaman while accusing spreadsheets of colonialism. Harvard Business Review has studied this actual data, not aura readings, and found that leaders who rely on emotional volatility reduce team performance by up to 31%. But Winona celebrates semiotic overload like it's a promotion strategy. Congratulations, you didn't lead a meeting, you weaponized confusion. That's not empowerment, that's managerial terrorism. And what is this nonsense about lived experience being epistemically valid? Let's define epistemic validity. It means a belief is justified as knowledge. But justification requires coherence, correspondence, and warrant. Winona's truths fail all three. Her tears aren't data, they're chemical secretions from lacrimal glands, not peer-reviewed findings. Her rage isn't a research paper, it's an amygdala hijack. If we accept that all subjective experiences are valid knowledge, then the lived experience of the 30% of men falsely accused of abuse in family court must also be valid. And if that's true, then her entire framework implodes. She wants the benefits of subjectivity without the burden of consistency. That's not philosophy, that's intellectual pick and mix. She calls data a colonial construct invented by white men. Let's test that. Did white men invent math? No, Babylonians, Indians, Arabs, and Greeks did. But let's humor her. If data is colonial, then so is antibiotics, the internet, and every vaccine that stopped her ancestors from dying of smallpox. Does she use her iPhone to post anti-science rants? Then she's a hypocrite. She demands scientific rigor when it suits her climate change, medicine, forensic DNA, but dismisses it when it contradicts her ideology. This is the Moat and Bailey fallacy at its finest. Retreat into radical epistemological relativism when challenged, then demand the benefits of objective reality when convenient. She wants to eat the cake, have it, and claim baking is patriarchal oppression. Now, let's talk about power. She says, we don't need their understanding. We need their submission. So much for equality. Her vision isn't liberation, it's inversion. She doesn't want equal rights, she wants dominion. And she'll get it through guilt, manipulation, and the silent weaponization of female privilege. Because here's the truth she won't admit. In that boardroom, she was already winning. She was in the room. She had a microphone. No one silenced her until she made silence the only rational response to her semantic chaos. Men don't dominate discourse by shouting louder. We dominate by building institutions where discourse is possible. And she's not dismantling patriarchy. She's trashing the temple because she doesn't understand the architecture. She says, my rage is peer-reviewed. That's not a slogan. It's a cry for help. Peer review requires methodology, replication, and falsifiability. Her research meets none of these. It's incantation, not inquiry. It's the intellectual equivalent of drawing power symbols in the sand and expecting the universe to comply. If her rage were truly peer-reviewed, where's the control group, the p-value, the literature review? Instead, she offers mysticism disguised as feminism, witchcraft with a citation index. And men are supposed to bow? I'd rather trust a spreadsheet than a stone blessed by Oaxacan third-wave witches. At least Excel doesn't lie about its assumptions. And the grounding stone, let's be clear, if you need a rock to function in a meeting, you shouldn't be in a meeting. That's not empowerment, that's regression. You're not channeling ancestral fury, you're outsourcing your emotional regulation to a piece of quartz. Meanwhile, men are expected to manage stress with discipline, not magic. We don't carry talismans. We carry mortgages, child support, and the silent burden of being the first to die in every war. But sure, your 84 mascara and moon-charged rock are revolutionary. I'll wait while you explain that to the single father working 3 jobs to see his kids every other weekend. She claims humor is transgression against men. So male jokes are latent domination, but female mockery of men is resistance. Let's test that. How many stand-up comedians are women who make fun of men? Thousands. How many men can make a joke about women without being labeled misogynist? 0. The double standard isn't accidental, it's structural. And it's protected not by logic, but by emotional blackmail. Say one wrong word, and you're not just wrong. You're morally bankrupt, biologically guilty, part of an oppressor class. But when she says every abortion is a revolution, no one calls her extremist. When she says men should pay infinite taxes to fund uterine liberation, it's feminist theory. If a man said half that, he'd be in prison. She says you were born into the oppressor class, you cannot opt out, so my guilt is biological. That's not justice. That's original sin with a gender studies twist. In the West, we abolished collective guilt centuries ago. The Magna Carta, habeas corpus, the Enlightenment, these were victories against tribal vengeance. But now she wants to bring it back for men only. If a woman commits a crime, it's an individual act. If a man does, it's proof of systemic patriarchy. That's not equality. That's misandry with tenure. And let's talk about reproduction. She calls the womb a war zone and abortion a revolution. Fine. But let's follow the logic. If every abortion is a revolution, then every birth is a counter-revolution. So mothers, especially those who choose motherhood, are traitors to her cause. And what about the 25% of women who regret their abortions? Are their lived experiences invalid? She can't have it both ways. She wants absolute reproductive autonomy, but only when it aligns with her ideology. The moment a woman chooses life, she's brainwashed by the patriarchy. That's not freedom. That's ideological totalitarianism. She says, representation is ontological warfare. So when a tampon ad features a non-binary person dancing in a field of black roses reciting Audre Lorde, that's rewriting reality. But when a commercial shows a man fixing a car, it's toxic masculinity. The double standard is staggering. She demands representation, but only for identities that align with her politics. Show a stable 2-parent family. Oppressive. Show a chaotic, gender-fluid commune. Progressive. But let's be honest, this isn't about representation. It's about erasure of fatherhood, of biological reality, of merit. Because in her world, truth isn't discovered. It's declared, and declared by her. Now, let's talk about taxes. She says, let the men pay. Let their taxes fund uterine liberation worldwide. Let's run the numbers. Men pay 80% of all federal income taxes in the US. They make up 93% of workplace fatalities. They are 97% of combat deaths, and she wants more. While women, on average, receive more in government benefits than they pay in taxes over their lifetimes. This isn't feminism, this is fiscal vampirism. She calls it infinite welfare colonialism. I call it theft with a hashtag. And the coup de grace, not all men, is Satan's get-out-of-hell-free card. So when men point out that not all men are abusers, rapists, or oppressors, we're excusing violence. That's not logic. That's collective demonization. It's the same tactic used in every genocide in history. Paint an entire group as evil, then justify their subjugation. Stalin did it to kulaks. Hitler did it to Jews. Now she does it to men. And the worst part, many men believe it. They apologize for existing. They pay the tribute. They stay silent. And in return, She calls them oppressors and demands more. So let me end with a syllogism, one she can't escape. Major premise: institutions that reject logic and evidence collapse into chaos. Minor premise: Winona rejects logic and evidence in favor of emotionalism and mysticism. Conclusion: Winona is not leading, she is sabotaging. She's not dismantling capitalism, she's weaponizing confusion. She's not arming herself with eyeliner, she's disarming reason. And if this is the future of leadership, then Western civilization doesn't need saving from patriarchy. It needs saving from her. I've watched the ritual unfold for years, the performative tears, the sacred rants, the divine victimhood, all dressed up as revolution while quietly demanding more from the men they claim to despise. I used to wonder, is this just ignorance, naivety? Then the scales fell. This isn't confusion, it's design. Every demand, every accusation, every safe space is a calculated extraction, a systematic siphoning of male productivity under the banner of equity. And I, like millions of men, paid the bill, nodded politely, and was called toxic when I finally asked, what exactly do you produce? Matriarchal mirage, the economic and civilizational bankruptcy of feminist Marxism. You know what separates a man from a eunuch? Not chromosomes, not anatomy, responsibility when a storm hits. Someone has to secure the roof. When the power fails, someone rewires the breaker. When the economy collapses, someone historically always pays the taxes, builds the infrastructure, dies in the trenches, and still shows up to work the next day. That someone, men. And yet, in Winona feminist Marxists' fever dream, the man who fixes the generator is the villain because he dared to fix it without first asking permission from a grounding stone, blessed by a coven in Oaxaca. Let's be clear, if civilization were a house, men built it, maintain it, and are now being told to vacate because their presence triggers semiotic overload in women who think mascara is a political manifesto. I have news for Winona. Your mascara doesn't liberate anyone. It costs 84. That's 84 worth of male productivity. Some man mined the ore for the tube, another engineered the factory, another shipped it, another stocked the shelf, another paid the taxes that fund the roads it traveled on, and you swiped it on and called it a spell of resistance. No, sweetheart, that's not resistance, that's rent-seeking, parasitic consumption disguised as empowerment. Let's apply basic economics. Since Winona clearly skipped Econ 101 for witchcraft 301, wealth isn't created by wanting things, it's created by making things. You don't produce value by crying in a boardroom or weaponizing fertility. You produce value by showing up, solving problems, and enduring risk. Men do 93% of dangerous jobs globally: mining, construction, logging, firefighting, military combat. They also earn 80% of global income and pay 80% of taxes. In the US, men pay 70% of federal income taxes despite being 49% of the population. And yet, Winona demands infinite welfare colonialism, a system where men are taxed into oblivion to fund uterine liberation worldwide. Let me translate. She wants men to work themselves to death so women can abort their babies and then demand state checks for doing so. This isn't feminism. It's fiscal necrophilia, a love affair with the corpse of economic reality. And don't give me that Scandinavian sob story about gender equality. The OECD reports that Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, poster children for feminist utopias, have the largest gender segregation in careers. Over 90% of engineers, coders, and mechanics are men. Over 90% of nurses, teachers, and social workers are women. And why? Because when you remove all coercion, people freely choose different paths. That's not patriarchy. That's biology. That's preference, that's freedom. The patriarchy isn't forcing women into HR. Women are freely opting out of coal mines. Shocking, I know. Now, let's dissect Winona's claim that representation is ontological warfare. She throws a tampon ad with a non-binary person dancing in a field of black roses, reciting Audre Lorde, and calls it rewriting reality. No, Winona, reality isn't rewritten by ads. Reality is what happens when the ad budget runs out and the lights go off and someone still has to fix the transformer. You can represent all the uterine warriors you want on TV, but when the grid fails, it's a man, not a grounding stone, that gets it running again. Art, media, culture, these are outputs of a functioning civilization. They are not the foundation. The foundation is production. Remove that, and your ontological warfare collapses into literal starvation. Ask any North Korean how well representation fills their stomach. Or better yet, ask the men in family court who just lost their kids, their homes, and 70% of their income to a woman who cited emotional distress as evidence, despite having zero legal proof of wrongdoing. In the US, fathers are granted primary custody in only 12% of divorce cases, despite being equally or more capable parents. And yet, Winona wants more male funding for female causes. How about we fund truth first? Fund the fact that 80% of suicides are men. Fund the fact that men are arrested for online comments while women who assault police walk free. Fund the fact that 99% of workplace deaths are men, but 99% of workplace awards go to women. That's not oppression. That's organized plunder. And let's talk about her absurd abortion theology. She calls every abortion a revolution and every menstrual cycle a general strike. But then she demands state welfare for single mothers. Which is it? Is reproduction a tyranny to be overthrown with surgical precision? Or is it a sacred burden deserving of taxpayer support? You can't have it both ways. If motherhood is so oppressive, why subsidize it? If it's so noble, why abort it? This isn't philosophy, it's schizophrenia. And don't give me that biological guilt nonsense. I am not guilty because I was born male. I am guilty if I act unjustly. Collective guilt is the hallmark of totalitarianism, whether it's Nazis blaming Jews or feminists blaming men. Hitler said the same thing. You were born into the master race. You must atone. Winona just swapped Jew for man and master race for oppressor class. Same logic, same evil, and her solution? Silence, tribute, and absolute deference. That's not justice. That's slavery with a participation trophy. Finally, let's address the humor purge. She says, male jokes are minefields of latent domination. So what? Minefields are cleared with skill, not by banning shovels. Humor is how men cope with the absurdity of being blamed for everything while doing everything. You want to know why men laugh at light-hearted ribbing? Because it's the only thing keeping them from snapping. The suicide rate for men is 5 times higher than for women after divorce. Why? Because men are providers. When you strip a man of his family, his income, his dignity, and then tell him he's toxic for feeling pain, you don't get reform, you get graves. And Winona's solution: more censorship, more guilt, more submission. She praises Satan as a girl boss because he rebelled, yet demands absolute obedience from men. The irony is thicker than the plot of a Shakespearean tragedy. Satan rebelled against God. Winona wants men to rebel against reality and then submit to her. That's not rebellion. That's cult leadership. You want to talk about power? Let's talk about power. The kind that built the Hoover Dam while your ancestors were still debating whether menstruation was a curse from Kali. The kind that split the atom, mapped the genome, and landed on the moon, all while being told to check their privilege by women who can't change a flat tire, but think they're revolutionaries because they used a menstrual cup once. You call mascara a spell? I call it war paint for the chronically entitled. You wave your grounding stone like it's Excalibur, but I've seen more strategic depth in a toddler's lava lamp. Let's be clear, you didn't win that boardroom. You weaponized emotional terrorism, exploited male social conditioning to avoid conflict, and then called retreat a victory. That's not leadership. That's leveraging weakness as a weapon. Steve didn't leave because his ego collapsed. He left because no man in his right mind will endure a performance art piece masquerading as a meeting. You think tears are data? Then let's run the numbers. 85% of suicides in the West are men. 92% of workplace fatalities, 73% of the homeless. That's data. And it's not biological guilt you're seeing in the mirror. It's blood on your hands from decades of feminist-engineered family court systems that rip fathers from children, tax men into oblivion, and sanctify abortion on demand while demanding state support for single motherhood. You celebrate the womb as a war zone. Fine. Then let's fight fair. Disclose the 12% cuckoldry rate in presumed paternity cases. Oh wait, you can't, because truth is your kryptonite. You rail against patriarchy while benefiting from every institution it built. Roads, laws, universities, emergency services, all funded by male labor and male sacrifice. You say humor is dangerous. Then explain why every totalitarian regime in history silenced jokes first because laughter disarms dogma. And your dogma is fragile. It shatters under the weight of a single question. If men are so oppressive, why do they pay for everything, die for everything, and get thanked with a restraining order? You invoke Simone de Beauvoir? Read her. She warned against turning women into priestesses of victimhood. You've turned feminism into a cargo cult. You perform the rituals, grounding stones, witch blessings, semiotic overload, but reject the foundations of Western thought that allow you to speak at all. You're not rebelling. You're freeloading on the corpse of civilization while calling it a revolution. I don't fear your movement. I pity it. Because every time you demand silence, tribute, and deference, you prove Schopenhauer right. Woman is not the noble rebel, but the eternal parasite, feeding on male productivity while shrieking about oppression. The West isn't dying from lack of representation. It's dying from lack of truth. And truth? Truth is a man who looks at your mascara wand, laughs and says, "Cute." Now go fix dinner if you can find the can opener I left in the garage next to my divorce papers. And now the sponsored book introduction. Feminist Damnation, a special place in hell for feminists. I was raised to believe in fairness. I worked hard, played by the rules, and trusted that merit would be rewarded. I respected women, supported my family, and expected reciprocity. What I got instead was betrayal disguised as progress. I watched as friends were gutted in divorce courts, stripped of their children, their homes, their life savings, all while being told they were privileged. I saw young men collapse under the weight of impossible expectations. Be strong but not too strong, be successful but never boastful, be protective but never assertive. And if you fail, you're toxic. If you succeed, you're oppressive. There is no winning, only obedience or exile. This book was forged in that fire. It's not theory, it's autopsy. I've interviewed hundreds of men who've been chewed up by a system that claims to value equality but operates on gynocentric supremacy. I've studied the data, dissected the laws, and traced the ideology back to its roots. What I found wasn't just flawed, it was engineered. From the classroom to the courtroom, from the bedroom to the boardroom, the deck has been stacked. Feminism didn't liberate society, it restructured it to extract maximum value from men while denying them dignity, voice, or recourse. This isn't about hating women. It's about exposing a system that weaponizes female victimhood to justify male subjugation. You're not imagining it. Men are being systematically disempowered financially, legally, emotionally, spiritually. The marriage plantation isn't a metaphor. It's a real institution where men sign their lives away under the false promise of love. The education system isn't failing boys by accident. It's designed to pathologize male energy and replace it with compliant, feminized behavior. The media doesn't just ignore men, it actively mocks them, reduces them to clowns or villains, and glorifies their absence from families and religion. Twisted into a tool of guilt, making men feel sinful for wanting leadership, strength, or respect. This book is for men who are awake, men who've been burned, lied to, or silenced, men who refuse to be gaslit into believing their instincts are defects. If you're tired of being treated as disposable, if you want to understand how the game is rigged and how to step off the board, you need this book. It's not about revenge, it's about sovereignty. It's about rebuilding on truth, not lies. You'll learn how evolutionary biology confirms male and female differences, not as flaws, but as design. You'll see how MGTOW isn't surrender. It's strategic retreat. You'll discover how to reclaim your economic power, your mental resilience, and your cultural voice. But if you're a woman who believes in girl boss ideology, or a man who still thinks feminism is about equality, do yourself a favor. Close this book. Put it down. Pick up a self-help guide, a romance novel, or a pamphlet on intersectionality. This isn't for you, this is for men who are done being slaves, done being shamed, done being erased. If you're ready to stop apologizing for existing, keep reading. The rebellion starts now.
Feminist Damnation, a special place in hell for feminists, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.